morning, everyone. All right, yeah, you can hear me. Hey, we're a little bit late getting started, but let's go ahead and start the program today for the INDOT Industry Annual Regional Meeting. This is day number 3 for the Dog and Pony Show that we've been traveling around the state. We were down south on Tuesday, same program as today. We were central yesterday, and now we're up here with you guys. We saved the best for last, right? Yeah, so let's move right along. I like all the networking that's been going on today, seeing old faces and meeting new people. Like, for example, I met Amanda and Dee today from Cherubusco, Indiana. How about that? I learned a new place. I thought I knew every place in Indiana, but I guess I don't. Sorry about that, guys. But it's a good morning for all of us to be together and talk about a few things and be prepared for this year's construction season. I'm going to start out by talking about the agenda here. If you are CAPP certified, this is your day for renewal, and you have to sign in on the sign-in sheet in order to get your renewal. So if you haven't signed in, make sure you do so. We're going to have first an aggregate update, and then an asphalt update, then concrete update, and then after that, we're going to have a nice lunch for you. So please feel free to stick around throughout the morning and be with us all the way through to lunch if you're so inclined. To help get things started here, let's see. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Indiana Mineral Aggregates Association. I am the executive director. That's me over on the right there for the association. We also have Katie Allison, who's right here videoing me and the rest of the program today. Most of you know her, have talked to her about something. She's the everything for IMAA. So you probably talked to her on the phone or saw her at winter workshops or something like that. We also have Doug Lozier on staff. He's part-time. He's our ESC director, Environmental Stewardship Council. He visits all of your sites to ensure that you're complying with our guiding principles for our reclamation program that we're fortunate to have here in the state of Indiana. And then finally, we have another part-time staff member at the office who you talked to on the phone, Andrea Davis. We're small, but mighty. A little bit about aggregates in Indiana. If you didn't know this, our members make up approximately 95% of all aggregates produced in the state of Indiana. That includes limestone, sand, gravel, and slag. We have 46 member companies. The last time I stood before you, we had 42, so we've grown the membership a little bit, and over 100 associate members who support and supply to our industry. If you are a member of IMAA, or if your company is a member of IMAA, then your name is probably on this list somewhere. I know you can't read it all, but just wanted to kind of give you an example of what our list looked like of members. And then also, I know you can't read this one, these are our associate members. We have more associate members than we've ever had in the history of IMAA. Have 118 associate member companies. And there's more out there. So if you're doing business with suppliers and folks that would be a good candidate to be an associate member of IMAA, when they show up at your site, introduce them to IMAA and allow them to know the benefits that they can receive by being a member of IMAA. We've had a good year in 2024. I've mentioned this previously this week that we had record attendance for everything that we did in 2024. Let's give yourselves a round of applause for that. So just a few highlights of some of the things that we did in 2024, like for example, in this photo, you will see our Blast Institute. Our Blast Institute is something that we do every other year with teachers. We bring teachers down in Bloomington and have them with us for an entire week. And we teach them all about our industry. We provide them with exercises that they can take back to their classroom and utilize with their students. And what we're trying to do is a grassroots level approach to workforce development and planting seeds and creating ambassadors for the aggregates industry. So this has worked out very well. Thank God we only do it every other year because it is a major undertaking. We rely on some of our members, and thank you for that, to volunteer and open up their doors to us and also teach some of the lessons in our Blast Institute. So that was great in 2024. We're also very proud of a program that we launched about 4 years ago. We just graduated our 4th class of our Excellence in Leadership program. This is a program that we have every year where members send their up-and-coming leaders to this program. It is 4 sessions throughout 1 year, and there's a graduation process that happens at our winter workshops in February. There's probably some graduates in the room here today, but we're very proud of this program, and we're going to be starting it back up. Registration is going to open sometime later this month, and our first session starts in April. So I would encourage you to look around your sites and see if there's someone that would benefit by being a part of this leadership program. We're talking office to field. It doesn't matter. I think about this program as being excellent for someone that works in the field who does a good enough job that you elevate them to a supervisory level. In most of those cases, there's no supervisory training that goes along with that. This program is excellent for that. So you might want to think about that as we send out registration here soon. We also have our annual clay shoot. Our clay shoot happens in May. It's scheduled for May 20th. Most of you have, or some of you have participated. It always sells out. We thought about this as being a one-off. We were going to do it for 1 year during COVID in place of our summer meeting. And our members were saying, hey, next year when you do this, let's do this, this, and this. So we've continued it over the last several years, and we've even added a vendor fair to this. So some of our associate members set up a booth out there at the clay shoot and visit with the producer members. It's a very good event. You should look for the email to open registration on that. We also, every July, have a summer meeting. We alternate years, 1 year with the Asphalt Pavement Association, and then the next with the Indiana Ready Mix Association. This is a photo from our 2024 event that we had with the Ready Mix Association in Cincinnati. It was a very good event. If you weren't there, you missed out on a good time. The highlight of it is a Reds game against the Cubs that we had. I had our membership split right down the middle in terms of fans. How about that? And we were fortunate to rent out an area out in center field where it was just dedicated for our event. So there was education opportunities as well as networking opportunities throughout those few days. So monitor your emails for 2025 summer meeting. Again, our golf outing that we have, our PI committee golf outing happens every September. And just so happened in 2024, it occurred on September 11. And in this photo, you can see that we invited members who were veterans to come out at the beginning of the day and help us honor the flag. It was a great moment, as you can tell in this picture. Another very successful event. We had maximum numbers in terms of golfers, and we're looking forward to doing that again this September. So monitor your emails for the invite on that. Another program that we're very proud of that we started a few years ago is we started a partnership with INDOT. We discovered years ago that over time we had a lot of new people come into our industry, a lot of new folks come into INDOT, and we didn't know each other as well as we once did. And so we started this partnership to make sure that we recognize that we're all in this together, and that every day when we produce aggregate, we want to do a good job, and we want them to understand that. And when they do their things, they want to do a good job. And so we come together every year for a full day and talk about being partners and learning each other, networking with each other, and building better relationships. And we sometimes add a field component to it. And in 2024, we did exactly that. We got together. Everybody that was there has been to a quarry before, but we never been to one together. So we had INDOT and industry and the quarry together talking about the process from the beginning to the end. And believe it or not, there was more to learn on both parts. We even witnessed a blast this day. How about that? So it was a very good day, very rewarding, and our members are benefiting greatly from this partnership, and we like to think that INDOT is benefiting as well. Thank you goes out to Matt Beeson from INDOT, who you'll hear from later, for his leadership with this program. You know, every year we have our winter workshops. Most of you have been to that. It's the biggest thing that we do all year. We do it in February, and we do it at the JW Marriott downtown Indianapolis. And just so happened, this year we were fortunate enough to have the governor with us shortly after his election. We had what we call a fireside chat where we invited him to the podium, and he and I sat and chatted about our industry, about his visions for our state, and just to make sure that he knows who we are, what we do, and build a relationship there. This is another photo from Winter Workshops. We had another great turnout for the event. We also have a vendor fair there, which is a great event, and it's been catching on quite a bit here lately. In 2023, we completely sold it out. 2024-5, the same thing happened, and so we decided to expand it to another room, and we had even more vendors there. So what a great event. If you've never been to Winter Workshop, you're missing out on a great opportunity to become more educated and opportunities for networking. Also, I threw this slide in to just make you aware that IMAA is standing in the gap on your behalf when it comes to legislation and other things that you're probably not even aware that we're doing. This year, during the session, the legislative session is still going on. Thank God that there are no more new bills that are going to be introduced at this point. They're all passing through third and fourth readings now, but there were 3 bills in the 2025 legislative session that we were very concerned about that was going to be detrimental to you, our members. Like, for example, one of these bills was proposing that the jurisdiction of overseeing blasting go from the state fire marshal's office down to the local level. We can't have that. That would be detrimental to the process. We can't have neighbors telling us when we can blast and that type of thing. So that was very important to fight that bill, and we were successful in getting it killed. There was another bill about the definition of an urban area. You know, that's very important to our members, because you can't open up a quarry or sand and gravel operation in certain areas that are not urban by definition related to the number of residents in an area. It's been 8 residents, a quarter square mile, and they wanted to take that down to 5, which will make it very difficult to open a new operation or expand. So we were successful in getting that bill killed also. So just wanted you to know that we're working on your behalf, and we're paying attention and standing in the gap. So this is my last slide, but we're very pleased about how our year has gone, and we're looking forward to how things are going in 2025. And to our members, if you have any thoughts or ideas or ways that we can better serve you, please let us know. And one of the ways that you can do this is by joining a committee. If you were to take your phone out and scan this QR code, you will get a list of all of our committees and opportunities to serve on a committee where your input can be very valuable to the future of IMAA. And before I turn the microphone over to Jim, I just want to also say thank you to our board members that are in the room. We got several board members in the room. I won't name them specifically because I'll forget somebody, but just thank you for your service to the association. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jim Rauman from INDOT. He is a state materials engineer. Let's give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you, Calvin. Welcome, everyone. As he mentioned, I'm Jim Rauman, State Materials Engineer for Indiana Department of Transportation. All right, there we go. I had to pull out the cheaters to help that cause. Again, Jim Rauman, State Materials Engineer. I work at the Materials and Test Division. I am over the we call the engineering group, the engineering technical group. We handle a lot of specification revisions, work on some new specifications when it deals with material issues, as well as Indiana test methods and the directives. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today here. We have 3 main topics. Just bring everybody up to speed, make you aware of some specification items, some specification changes. These are going to bounce around a little bit from topic to topic, but there'll be a little something for everyone in the room. Probably some slides won't really apply, but then probably the next page will. So apologize for that, but just trying to catch the wide range of backgrounds and functions of those in the audience. Also then a couple of Indiana test method changes and a couple on directives, and then we'll turn it over to our INDOT statewide geologist, Melissa Earhart, to give you some more aggregate updates in detail. So in with the spec items, and actually I think there was a construction memo that's either just released the other day or going to be released soon on e-ticketing with some revisions and updates. We're currently offering an incentive of $2 per e-ticket delivered to the department's portal. This would apply to asphalt, aggregate, or concrete materials. Like I said, there's a construction memorandum that should be posted to our website that gives a little more details with this. And I believe the intent is to try to get the provision into most contracts. I don't know if it's something that's still an option. If it's required, that's a construction management decision, but I know we're kind of going that way. Also wanted to remind everyone that the ledges are required to be shown on the aggregate weigh tickets. This is something that's been a requirement for quite a while. Just wanted to reiterate it here and mention it to everyone. We've also developed a lightweight concrete specification. This is something, as noted there, is going to be used very sparingly. This is something that we developed. It's going to use expanded clay, expanded shale, or a slate aggregate. These things are really needed when we have historic bridges or other things where we have to save a lot of the existing superstructure, and as the designer gets into it, trying to bring it up to current standards, there ends up being a lot of concerns with weight and dead load, and so that's where the lightweight comes in. Just want to make everyone in the room aware that you may see it in a contract here or there. It by no means is anything that we're going to go to as like the mainstream option. Matter of fact, it basically, if a designer wants to use it, they have to convince our director of bridge engineering that this is necessary and that they've exhausted all other opportunities before they go to this. But I just wanted to mention it's something new. We passed our standards committee a few months ago, and it's there. So if you happen to see it in a contract, that's what's going on. On to some aggregate items here. We just made an editorial change to our classification of aggregates chart that's in 90403. One of the notes here, specifically note number 5, this one deals with non-durable particles. There was a long list of things in there. We found that there were some that were there were different interpretations of this, I'll say, and we thought, well, in reviewing it, we thought just maybe trying to break it up into like A, B, and C would try to help clarify the intent. So that's the change that we made there. That should be coming up here in September. INDOT is releasing a new standard specifications book that will apply to lettings September 1st of 2025 going forward, or it's otherwise called the 2026 spec book. This change will certainly be in that spec book. I don't know if we made it a provision in the interim. A couple of other items here, like I said, we're going to bounce all over. Proof rolling, this was something our geotech department wanted to update. So they updated and provided some clarification. That's in 20326. I believe it has to do with the number of passes and stuff, but it's been quite a while since I looked at it, and geotech's not my background, so I just had to take their word for it. Subgrade treatment. We used to have about 7 or 8 different types of subgrade treatment. We've looked at them. The geotech wanted to eliminate a few of them, try to reduce the number of options. So they eliminated 1D, 4, and 4A. Those were very similar to either seldomly used or very similar to other options that were being used. So these have been deleted. Geosynthetics was something they also wanted to change up and now pay for that separately. It used to be included in the cost of the subgrade treatment when it was required. Now they went with when it's required, we'll go ahead and pay separately for it. So there should be those pay items, or those contracts that applies to, there should be pay items in those. 301 and 303, which is the aggregate base and aggregate pavement shoulder sections. There were some additional details for aggregate compaction and construction that were provided, as well as the moisture content was clarified. And I think they want to shoot for between 4 and 7% now, as opposed to running a bunch of proctors and getting optimal moisture and things like that. Concrete pavement recycling and used as aggregate. This is something that's come up over the past couple of years. Just various folks will get inquiries from the public and stuff about, I think it's just kind of in regards to general green type initiatives. Hey, what's the department doing? One of the ones we see a lot is, well, what about all this concrete pavement? INDOT has allowed it. The specifications currently allow it to be used in embankments. This would be below the level of your under drains, somewhere in the 203 section, that is. We also have a small working committee that's looking at perhaps getting it into subgrade and subbase. Not sure that there's a huge demand for this, but it's something that we felt an obligation to look at just going forward with some of the different initiatives and whatnot. We at least wanted to look at it and see is there opportunity. So there is a group working on it. I will admit it's not probably first on anyone's list of things to do, but we are meeting periodically and talking about it. So we may or may not end up getting it into subgrades and subbases, but it's at least being discussed. Some of these rebar items now coming up, I'm going to try to move a little quicker because most of you don't deal with too much rebar. We did allow 706, we made that addition. Rebar right now is in accordance with ASTM A615, that's your standard steel rebar. 706 is just a slightly different chemistry. We went ahead and added that as well, just so coming forward here in the future, if there does happen to be some steel shortages, that there's another option that contractors can look at to keep things moving. 706 is considered weldable. However, INDOT is not allowing welding on 706 rebar. All rebar, whether it's 615 or 706, still needs to be tied. But we do have a spec change that will allow either one of those to be used. Again, beginning with the 26 spec book now, so September lettings this year and into the future. The designer is supposed to be designing a lap length. That's when you're lapping bars that are shown in the picture. How much overlap do you need? Used to be the standard, if they weren't shown, was 32 bar diameters with various updates to the AASHTO design specifications and stuff. It was felt that 32 is not sufficient for all scenarios that they're looking at, so it's now 64 bar diameters. But we really want the designers, they're aware of this, our design manual talks about it, it really needs to be shown on the plans. If it's shown on the plans, then that's what you do. If not, and there's no other guidance, then the fallback was always 32 bar diameters. Now it's 64. The maximum spacing of support devices we changed. Again, this is coming up in September. In order just to provide a little more rigidity and stiffness to the mats, putting support devices no more than 4 feet in any direction. So it may end up being a few more support devices used, but hopefully it gives us a little more rigidity to the mats. The steel will stay where it's supposed to, and we'll be able to maintain the clear covers to the top and the bottom like we're supposed to. MSE wall panels, this has been an issue that's come up here, unfortunately, more frequently the last couple of years. Specifications call for a couple of cores to be taken. Just want to make sure everybody knows these are 4-inch inside diameter, so the core itself needs to be 4 inches, not the core bit. If the core bit is 4 inches, the resulting core is something less, and that doesn't work when we go to do the compression testing on it. Yes, we will get a value, but if it's real close to the minimum acceptable, but the core is a little smaller, you get a lot of uncertainty. Well, is this, if it would have been the proper size, is this acceptable or not? So just want to emphasize, hey, it's 4-inch inside diameter, so that's probably equates to about a 4 1/4 or so core bit is what's needed for that. A few other spec items here. 738 are polymeric or epoxy bridge deck overlay. That's what's in the top picture there. Basically, it's slather some epoxy on a bridge deck, cast some aggregate in it, put another layer of epoxy, then another layer of aggregate. Our asset management teams, our bridge maintenance is using this a lot to try to help extend the life of bridges before we get into rigid overlays. If you have one of these in your contract, I just encourage you, please read that provision. We've had about 7 different versions of this provision over the last 5 years, so even though you've done one a couple years ago, please read what's in your current contract, because there may be slight changes from the last one you did. Box culverts, there's been a change, a new option. Sometimes waterproofing membrane will be required. If so, there will be a pay item in the contract. And what that entails, instead of like the picture shows, where they're basically just putting that wrap on the joints, it would be the entire structure gets wrapped. Again, if this is required, some districts were requiring it, and there was just some inconsistency throughout the state. We went ahead and got a specification created on it just so we could have consistency throughout the state, as well as when it ends up being selected for use by design. Bearing pads, we'll skip over that one now in the interest of time. Basically, it just, we made a change. If you want to, dealing with the number of samples we need, we made a slight tweak on that. So hopefully it may, in some cases, reduce the number of samples that the bearing manufacturer is required to send to INDOT. Build America, Buy America has been a hot topic here in 2025. Those who may not be aware, the manufactured products waiver was terminated in the Federal Register January 14th. What this means is we've always had a certification that was required for steel and iron products. Steel and iron, you had to fill out certifications since probably about 1985 or thereabouts that required a certification. Your steel and iron needed to be, I think, made, milled, manufactured within the United States. So that's always been there. A few years ago with the IIJA bill, that came out and they added things called construction materials. So construction materials, they wanted also to be primarily manufactured in the United States, and they gave a list, optical glass, lumber, a handful of other things. So those were now requiring a certification as well. Last year, 2 years ago, manufactured products Federal Highway had a waiver for these. So if it was a manufactured product, well, that can be made wherever. Not anymore. With this, so effective with our October letting, the manufactured products are also going to have to be some percentage of them made, manufactured in the United States, and there'll be a certification for that. There'll be some additional impacts coming up with the October 26th letting. I think it deals with the percentage of the components that need to actually be manufactured in the States, but there'll be more information forthcoming on that once we receive more information. So what these changes did, we're revising our provision 106C277. Basically that just gives you an additional certification that needs to be filled out. As mentioned, it'll take effect on or after October 1 of this year. Also behind the scenes, we are working on updating our AWP material codes to reflect this, as well as our website currently has a spreadsheet. We've had it there for about the last year that shows what the department classifies various materials as. There's exempt materials, things like cement, asphalt binders, aggregates. Those are considered exempt. Those will remain exempt. We also identified our various materials, what's considered a manufactured product, what's considered a construction material, and what's considered steel and iron. And that list is still there, so we need to go through that and do some updating based on this manufactured products waiver going away. And also, if you happen to have a 100% state-funded contract, all those requirements I told you other than the steel and iron, the manufactured product and the construction material, those are federal requirements. If you have a 100% state-funded contract, right now they do not apply. The only thing that would apply to state-funded is the iron and steel. So if the state legislature in Indiana decides that we need to have certifications and they want those made in the states, they take action, and we will obviously have some more updates. But right now, the legislature hasn't taken action, so we're going to just leave it. It applies to federal, so we'll require it for federal. It doesn't apply for state, so we won't require it. Lastly, here on spec items, speaking of certifications, here in the last week or so, we've added fillable certification forms to our INDOT internet webpage. They're down here. I think they're in a slightly different order now. They might be up closer to the bold word certifications. But there's a fillable Type A, Type B, Type C, Type D, as well as a fillable Buy America for iron and steel, a fillable Build America for construction material, and then also a Build America for manufactured products. That, again, what will take effect with the October lettings. Going on to Indiana test methods here real quick. I think I just have one of these in my presentation that we changed. ITM 207, we added a strike-off method for a coarse and fine aggregate sampling. The current sampling method is still allowed, so with the addition of this, that gives everybody options. You can sample it in one of two ways. And in Directive 202, aggregate quality and verification samples, we made some changes here. We understand there was some inconsistency with maybe how point of use and other things were taken that way. So we've tried to put some clarification and clean that up, as well as for labs testing sand. Tried to clean up and better define procedures when there's failures with aggregate at concrete and asphalt plants, as far as going back to the source and things like that. So Directive 202 has a fair number of changes here that we hope are going to be some clarification for consistency there. And that brings me to the end of my presentation here. I'm going to turn it over to our INDOT statewide geologist, Melissa Earhart. Then when she's done, we'll have our Director of Materials and Tests, Matt Beeson, up, And then when Matt's finished, we'll maybe have a short opportunity for some questions. So if you do happen to have questions, I'll just ask if you could hold those till when Matt's finished, and we can maybe see about addressing them then. So thank you very much for your attention. Melissa.
Hello, everybody. I'm Melissa Earhart, the statewide geologist for Materials and Test. I've been with them for about two and a half years now, and my home district was Fort Wayne, and it's nice to see everybody again. All right, so we're going to go into ITM 211 changes. We are doing some proposed changes. It's related to the CAPP loadout program, and then some other changes to update CAPP to modern day technology. As we all know, from 1995, technology has changed and some of our methods have changed. INDOT is still finalizing the changes. We will get the copies to IMAA very soon. IMAA will distribute the proposed changes to the members for comment and review. For non-IMAA members, if you guys want a copy of these changes as well, you can go ahead and contact Jim at this email address right up here. So now we're going to go into some audit corrective actions and trends. Basically, I kind of went over this with the IMAA winter workshops, and I thought it was a good idea to do it again. Who's going to be your main contacts and who's going to do your audits this year is your district geologist, your lab supervisors, and stuff like that. The LaPorte district geologist is Rachel, and our Fort Wayne one is Kenneth Ray. And then we have Crawfordsville, Amanda. Greenfield is Aaron. Vincent's, currently we do not have a geologist down there. It's Tim Buckner and me, so the DTE. And then our Seymour district is Chris Bell. So for 2024, M&T has compiled the corrective actions from all the district audits. And this is an overview to help us and to help you guys as well. Our total corrective actions this year was 197. No corrective actions was 50 sources. So whatever those 50 sources did, they were doing a really good job. But this does not include our observations during the audits. The observations for our audits is usually just us saying, hey, we're noticing that you're doing this. It's not quite right, but here's some help, or oh, you didn't understand that frequency. We're going to teach you a little bit more about it. So going into these corrective actions, the chart's not done correctly. I did combine several sections for it with 61 corrective actions for charts not done. That included your target means were not correct, specification limits were not correct, maintaining the 30 points, the charts were missing tests, or test dates did not match diaries or on the charts. And then the 5-point moving average, that 5-point moving average, if it does 7 up, 7 down, you're supposed to note it in your diaries and on your charts. Diaries not being filled out correctly was 26 corrective actions. This includes significant weather, quantity, test reports wrong, times not entered, key personnel, significant changes in plants, and diaries not signed, and then noting that 5-point moving average. One of my favorite examples was when I was the Fort Wayne district, I went and did an audit. The next day they called and said, hey, we had a tornado go through, we lost the conveyor, we lost this and this and this. And I was like, hey, that's a significant event, go ahead, stick it in your diary. Shakers are not verified. That was 11 corrective actions. The compliance rate out of compliance was 7 corrective actions. QCPs were 6 corrective actions. And that included the D list did not match, plant locations, plant flows were incorrect, or a management representative, key personnel, that type of stuff didn't match. Missing weekly dilatory tests, 6 corrective actions. Gradations not within spec limits, 24 corrective actions. Current test methods, 18. That includes your ASHOs and ITMs and ASTMs. Tickets missing information such as ledges, source, or queue numbers. That was 6 corrective actions. Balances not calibrated. That includes your weights. That was 6 corrective actions, and target means incorrect were 5. So what I did this past year was I went through from 2018 all the way up to now and did a corrective action trends through the years. And some of the main ones I was seeing were signages on aggregate piles and stockpiles were incorrect. That means your stock signs were not on your stockpiles or your stock maps were not correct. Reference document, again, that's your ASHOs, ASTMs, and ITMs. QCPs not having the correct information. Again, it's that same information, plants, personnel, plant flows, and lab information. So lab information, I'll give a little explanation to that too. Over the years, we're noticing that some of the quarries do have multiple quarries and they will satellite their labs in different spots. A lot of times we will see that and we want you guys to put that in your QCP. Your D list not matching your QCP. Back in the day before it was actually published in 2022, I think it was, that was a lot of corrective actions because you guys never got to see your D list. However, now that it's public, you should be able to review your D list and look at your QCPs to match it. Test data does not match diary or charts. 5-point moving average trend not noted in the diary or the math was incorrect. With your programs and that, once in a while, your 5-point moving average is not a 5-point moving average. It's actually like a 3-point moving average. So when you guys do your charts and that, you want to make sure it's a 5-point moving average. We also noticed that the trends 7 up, 7 down are not being told in our diaries as well. Missing deleterious tests or frequencies. Again, that's a big one that we've been seeing. I do know some of the, like Stonemont, Windrock, if you have a 0 on your deleterious, it does not report it. So you want to make sure when you do your test and that it gets reported on that. Missing startup, normal, and loadout frequencies. Yes, we all know we're human, we miss our frequencies, but we've been seeing that. Key personnel changes not in diary. Again, if you had a boss that decided to leave or you had a tech leave, just note it in your diaries. Compliance rates being below 95% or standard deviation above 5.0. Again, this is one of the bigger ones that we do see once in a while, and that actually hurts you just as much as we see it, because if you have a 95% or below, we will commercialize your stockpiles, so you lose a lot of money in that part for being state. Verifications not correct, scales, weights not calibrated. This is one that we see that pops up every 2 years, because in ASHO, the weights that calibrate your scales is every 2 years. INDOT requires it every single year. So when you guys do your scale calibrations, that you want to make sure those weights are always calibrated every single year. And that is in your certification letter, and it will reference to those weights. And then gradations, which we'll talk about that for the CAPP loadout. So how do we resolve these corrective actions? That's basically, you want to review your previous audits every single year just to make sure that those corrective actions that you had, you're still correcting it and you're still doing the right thing across every year. Audit yourself. There is blank audit checklist in the CAPP manual. It's online. I will show you where it is online. And you can sit there and audit yourself, and you'll see through our eyes what we're looking for. And that way you're ready for us and that you know that you're doing stuff correctly. Make sure you have the correct paperwork for verifications. Are your forms updated to the most current ITMs? I have seen it in the past as a district geologist that someone had a 1995 form for a 910. And I was like, you know, they did change the procedure, correct? So we had to get them updated and that type of stuff. Again, like I said, you want to make sure your weights are calibrated every year. Check your yard to make sure signs are there or have the correct information. That means look at your stocks, your signs. Does it say 11s, ledge 1 through 5, or does it say just 11s and you don't know what ledge it is. Same goes with stockpile maps. You want to check and make sure they are accurate. We do know that piles change, so you just want to make sure they're always updated. Check your charts regularly to make sure they are correct. What is the 5-point moving average doing? Did you record it? And that is something we've been noticing lately too, that the charts are not always looked at daily or even weekly or even monthly. So you want to do that. Same thing with your diaries. Review them. Is your information in there? Is it done correctly? If so, great. Review your QCP. Is all your information in your QCP correct? If not, use your addenda to update your QCP for information during the audit time frame of 10 days or the updates during January 1st through April 1st, which is going on right now. You can also have your plant managers that run the plants and that check their plant flows. How often are you checking your compliance rate? Is it a month, or is it right at the audit, or are you doing it weekly? So you want to make sure that compliance rate looks good. Standard deviation can look extremely good, but at the same time, that moving or your target mean might have shifted and caused your compliance rate to fall. So always double check your compliance rate. Make sure you're still certified. To stay certified, technicians need to attend a spring regional meeting like today, or watch the video and pass the short quiz on the topics. This will be on your IMAA website. To stay qualified, technicians need to have proficiencies every 2 years. Contact your IA to make sure your deadlines. Or if you don't know your IA contacts, if some of them have left and you don't have that contact anymore, call your district geologist. They will help you out as well. This is the website that I was talking about, the www.in.gov. This gives you your D-list, ITMs, directives, the current management representative letter. That gives you all the updates for your ASHOs, ITMs, and ASTMs. The current CAPP manual, the 2023 aggregate spec chart, that you can print it off and put it in your labs. Certified technician list, you just want to make sure you're still certified. The qualification part on it is a little finicky just because I don't get all that information to keep the qualified part up. GSB list for HMA in concrete, your Class AP, AS list, and certified list. This is kind of what the website looks like. We have the qualified products, the QPLs, your publications of your test methods, the directives. Everything that's highlighted is on that website. This gives you your current information for your ASTMs and stuff like that. Your spec charts are down farther when you scroll down. The certified technician list, the GSB list, currently it's updated even farther than that. It was updated this week. And then there's your certification or your certified aggregate technician manual. Again, the ASHOs and ASTMs in the CAPP manual are excerpts. So they are not complete documents. They are not to be used. And you can say, hey, I have these. We will count those wrong for you. So we require the full ones, and that you can find them on the ASHO website. And just make sure that everything's current. Again, that management rep letter will help you with what ones have been updated. And that is it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Missy. And I'm going to finish up the aggregate portion here. We are a little bit behind what our schedule says, but we will catch up on the asphalt and concrete portion, so we're doing good. All right, so I want to talk about what we're doing with our CAPP loadout. It started as a pilot and kind of became a full-scale pilot, and what we're going to do moving forward. So I've got some more slides here. I'm just going to kind of talk on some of this. So a few years ago, maybe 2022, 2023, internally we started talking about, we were seeing in some districts a fairly high percentage of failures on point of use samples and what we consider loadout samples that we would go and get from the quarry from stockpiles, and just concerned about it. and wondering what we could do. So we started talking with industry and ended up coming up with an idea that, hey, let's pilot trying to focus more on loadout. And so in 2023, we started out with I guess a small pilot of volunteers to collect some data, and then rolled that out larger in 24. Let me get to the next slide here. So the idea, you can't read that, I'll go back, doesn't matter. So the idea was CAPP is now almost 30 years old, and it's focused on production testing, and that's great. And I'll get to the end here. We're not going to be deviating from that, at least I don't think so. But we wanted to also talk about, it increased the focus on loadout, because that's what actually goes out to the plants, to the concrete producers, HMA plants, and to the INDOT projects. So we asked producers to begin uploading all of their data for what we deem to be the critical size aggregates. So we picked a size 8 and size 11 as the ones that really, I guess, quote unquote, matter the most. Not that the other ones don't matter, but there's probably more room for error on things like 53s, et cetera. But we wanted to focus on those and as the high value targets. And we asked producers to upload their data to a portal that we set up, a spreadsheet essentially. And we ended up calculating statistics based on that. So I'll share that right now. So we started off with the 8s. These slides are from, so Kurt Summer, who works for me, was actually, incidentally, he was my first boss when I was at INDOT as an intern, and now he works for me, which is great, great to come full circle. I'm lucky to have Kurt working for me on this. But he pointed out this is really the first time this has happened in the 30 years of CAPP, where we took a comprehensive look at all of the data we're getting. And then to calculate statistics on this, we chose percent within limits, which is probably my fault because the old asphalt engineer in me is used to talking about percent within limits and not CAPP statistics. But they're pretty much the same. It gets the same answer. It's just a different way to kind of do the math. But just when you see the numbers up here and we talk about percentages, you're used to thinking percent compliance. It's kind of the same thing. So, and we ended up only calculating products with at least 3 tests because you have to have that for statistics. So size 8, we ended up last year in all the databases ended up with 98 products across the state that people submitted, and that amounted to 1,600, almost 1,700 tests. So a lot of data. And the short answer is a lot of products and producers are doing great. We found out over 75, or I guess 75% of those products of the 8s have above 95% compliance, which is great. There were 12 that had less than 90, so that leaves 13 in between 90 and 95. And we're actually kind of looking at 90 as maybe being a good number when we're talking about loadout, as opposed to 95%, like when we talk about production. So this is a whisker box and whisker plot, and if you've seen these, I'm not super great at looking at these or talking about them, but it's kind of a visual way to put what I just said. You have, I guess, 75% there above I think the median there is 99, and then you have 75% above 95, and then the bottom there is 88. What we really want to focus on, and I think what we learned through this, is a lot of products, a lot of producers are already, I guess, hitting what we're asking for, and we want to talk about the ones that are below that line, and that's really what we're going to focus on, is what can we do to get those ones that are below that line maybe up above that line, and how can we do that? So those are a lot of things I already said. We found the data entry time hopefully was not a burden on folks that did that, so I want to thank everybody for doing that in our SharePoint spreadsheets. Real quickly, I have the size 11. Pretty similar, a little better. I think all of you would agree 11s are probably a little easier to handle and keep in grade just by the nature of the size. We had 62 of those, and I think a little under 1,000 tests, but again, pretty similar what we found. So those are just the statistical highlights. I'll jump past it. So what do we want to do? So we've been meeting with a small group, which has been, again, I want to say thanks to, Calvin mentioned earlier the partnership we have. I want to say thank you to the agri industry and meeting with us and talking about these things. And we're all talking about where we want to go, and I think we're going to go there together. So what do we want to do? We are working on an ITM. You mentioned, Melissa mentioned, the slide originally said, before I had to edit it, that you already have a copy of ITM 211, but you don't, because I made some last minute edits late last Friday and we haven't agreed on everything yet. So you should have that soon. But what we want to do is continue in 2025 doing what we did last year, just gathering data, and we're talking what is going to see in the proposed changes to the ITM is planned for 2026, and that would be where if you keep gathering your loadout data, if you drop below, we're proposing a 90 on the statistics, then it would essentially, we would ask for a plan, and it would essentially trigger a conversation. So we're not going to decertify piles, those sorts of things right off the bat, but we just want to, again, find a way to help get those products that were all the way down below that 90 level up above. So with that, I've already said a lot of this. Yeah, the idea is we're going to continue with SharePoint for now. Hopefully we can get a better IT solution. You'll hear from Nathan here in a little bit. Our IT process at the state is very slow, and so, good luck. We'll see what happens. But for now, the SharePoint is working, and that's what we're going to do. So that's really, I think, everything I've got on this. I've covered most of this, yeah, transitional implementation 2025 with the idea that we're going to go kind of fully with this in 2026. But again, we'll send those proposed revisions out soon for comment, and then we can keep talking about it. So with that, I'll take some questions here in a second. I have a couple other things. I just want to thank, normally at these things I get up first. It didn't work out this way, but I do want to thank the industry all week for this, and in this case, the concrete industry helped with this venue, and thank you for the coffee. I hope everybody enjoyed that. That's great that that's put together. It's very popular, I can see, but we couldn't do these without IMAA, APAI, and the concrete associations, so I just want to thank them for that. I do have one other topic that didn't make it to a slide, tickets. So as the INDOT people know, we're very, very slowly transitioning away from Site Manager, which is our internal database of everything, I guess, for construction and materials related things, to Ashtore Project. And as a result of that, a lot of nomenclature is changing. One of the things, queue numbers are going away as we go to Ashtore Project. And so what's going to be on the tickets is going to need to change at some point. We're not exactly sure what that's going to look like yet. We're probably going to have some sort of Rosetta Stone document to compare the nomenclature between the two. But I plan on reaching out to industry, and we'll have to figure a way forward of what we're going to ask to be on the tickets in the future. So that was just one other thing I wanted to mention. So with that, now I'll actually take any questions. We have a few minutes. All right, not seeing anything. That is the end of the aggregates portion. We're going to take a couple minutes here to transition to asphalt. Thank you.